So, Rudy, today, the big story, and it's been sort of brewing for a while now, latest poll in Quebec shows, the Liberals basically in a dead heat with the Parti Québécois, each at 33%. That's a big story. Perhaps as big a story is how far the CAQ have fallen in this poll. So your reaction to what you see?
Yes, especially that this week is the last week of Premier Legault as Premier. But now we show with this poll 9%. I mean, the CAQ, and if there was an election today, the number of member of the National Assembly that would be elected under a CAQ leadership would be 0, telling you how devastating this latest poll is. And it's very interesting because Charles Milliard is now the new leader of the PLQ, and you can see that there's a tie with the Parti Québécois. But the question is, what has he done exactly? Because he's a new leader. People are still discovering his leadership style. I do believe that the first explanation is that the Liberal brand is doing better thanks to what's happening in Ottawa. You know, people always make a connection between the federal Liberals and the provincial Liberals. But also there's some very interesting information in that poll is that even with Francophone votes, the provincial Liberal used to be at 4% when it comes to Francophone vote. It means outside of Montreal. It's now close to 23%, meaning if there was an election today, we wouldn't know if it would be a Liberal or a PQ minority government.
That, just hearing you say that, look, I get the part about, the Liberals in this part of Montreal. We know that's a given. But to see that number outside of here, we were 3 or 4%, I think, at one time, not that long ago,
yes,
right? I mean, this is pretty staggering.
No, it's very, very interesting. Even with youth, normally you would think youth people will be maybe more on the PQ side, for example. That was always also a challenge. Even when the youth people, they are getting a lot of traction. So if you're an advisor of Charles Milliard, you're going to say, look, either continue doing what you're doing or just don't do anything, because the reality is that there's a lot of politics that we still don't know about Charles Milliard. What is his position on this and what's his position on that? But I do believe that for the moment, people are realizing that they're kind of parking their vote with the Liberal Party of Quebec and that everything is volatile. It's going to be a very interesting summer. It's going to be a very, very interesting election because both leaders, the PQ and the Liberals, will be tested. And it's a challenge right now because they need to show that they're ready to govern. They need to show candidates, high-level candidates. We saw today that, for example, Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon announced one of his star candidates when it comes to his economic team. I do believe the Liberal Party needs to do the same thing because people are paying attention and they're looking to see who's ready to govern.
What do you make? I had him on the show yesterday. Andre Pratt decided to go back into the Liberal fold. Guy who's been around, kind of knows the ropes. Pretty smart thing to do.
Yes, it's true that he has a lot of experience, but you cannot say that it's a big renewal when you talk about, obviously, Andre Pratt. But I do believe that in politics, you need to add and not subtract. I do believe that he's somebody that is well respected, and they need to put forward some good policies because right now we still don't know what exactly the Liberals are putting forward on, for example, just immigration, secularism, and all of the other policies. So I do believe that they need to show a very strong platform for the next election.
So I want to move from provincial politics, if I can, to federal politics. Mark Carney made an announcement today. It's actually my favorite clip of the week so far, where he said it's a good day to be a polar bear in Canada. I thought that was a fantastic clip, a new program that they have that's going to conserve water and land. But with respect to something that I think the last time we talked about proroguing Parliament was Justin Trudeau. Before that, Stephen Harper many, many years ago, which I'm sure you remember.
Yes.
But the idea's come up again. So if you could explain to people, right, there are 3 by-elections coming up. If the Liberals win a couple of them, they will form a majority. So what's this about proroguing? Because Mark Carney was asked about this today and said this.
Absolutely not. It has never even entered my thinking, the possibility of that. So I couldn't have been more surprised to see a suggestion that was under consideration.
So that was a story, I think, from Robert Fife in the Globe and Mail. What do you make of this?
Yes, it was very strange because, first of all, you don't prorogue government unless you want to reset the agenda, for example, because the moment you prorogue everything that you've put forward and that hasn't passed, for example, every bill that you've put forward that hasn't passed, you need to kind of start again. So I didn't think that it was a good idea. I do understand that, for example, exactly like you said, there's going to be 3 by-election, meaning if the Liberals win 2 out of the 3, and even if they win the third one, it would mean that they become de facto a majority government, meaning they don't have to talk to the Conservative or to the Bloc Québécois or to the NDP to pass their legislation. So certain people were saying, they can prorogue, reset, maybe even have a cabinet shuffle and kind of start fresh. But at this point, they don't need to start fresh. They can continue to govern the same way they did, but this time with 3 more MPs who are going to be on the government bench.
Do you buy what Mark Harper, you believe he's just kind of looking at this going, I never said this, I'm not interested, it's not on my agenda?
Yes, I do believe it, because normally just after a year, you don't prorogue. Normally it's after 2 years, after 3 years, where you really need to kind of boost your party, boost in terms of your messaging. But right now, Mark Carney is governing. He has, or he will have shortly, a majority. And you don't see that, for example, there's been a lot of obstruction, for example, in Ottawa. He's been able to pass his budget, to have all this, the royal sanction on his bills. So I do believe that it was kind of maybe a theory more than a practical thing.
But would you believe that people within the party perhaps have brought the idea forward?
Yes, I do believe that's something that they may have discussed, but I don't believe it's the right tool for Mark Carney right now.
Okay. I want to move on to something else which we've not talked about today. I see it's in your notes. The icebreaker announcement this morning. What was this? What is this about?
It's very important because, Aaron, we talk a lot about Canada's sovereignty and how it's important that we give the women and men in uniform for example, the capacity to intervene in the Canadian Arctic. And it's been years we're talking about the fact that we don't have a strong Navy. But right now, yet this morning, there was a milestone that we are going to have one of the biggest icebreaker in the world that is going to be manufactured in Quebec, actually in Lévis. It's going to be ready in 2030. It's going to cost more than $3 billion.
Wow.
But it will mean that Canada would be able to intervene 365 days a year, and that's very important because we cannot talk about Canada's sovereignty without having the asset to being able to actually intervene in our own territorial water.
And we can't talk about this without noting this is being built in Lévis?
Yes.
That's a big win for Quebec.
Especially that the shipbuilding is Davie Shipyard. And remember, they went bankrupt. They were able to refinance themselves. They're being able to apply, win a contract. And now this morning, they are setting the stage to build that huge icebreaker. And it's not only the first one. Normally, there's supposed to be 3 other icebreakers that are going to be possibly built also here in Quebec. So it's kind of a new expertise that we're also developing in Quebec.
Rudy, did they announce how many jobs this will create in that announcement?
1,000. It's not only the job, it's the whole supply chain. You know how many SMEs will be part of it, and also skilled workers. So it's kind of a new sector in a way that we're developing here in Quebec City. So it's very, very important announcement.
Nice news. All right. Rudy, thank you so much. Appreciate you coming by.
Pleasure, Aaron.
Unmistakably Canadian.
It's the music that raised you.
The artists raising the bar.
Hi, this is Brian Adams.
Hey, my name's Brett Emmons. I'm from the Glorious Sons.
Hi, I'm Nelly Furtado.
Made in Canada. The station that champions Canadian music.
Loud, proud, and all yours.
No passports required. Just press play.
Tap into Made in Canada now on iHeartRadio.ca
Or the free iHeartRadio app.